So today we want to talk about new souls. And that makes it an interesting discussion because aren't we only supposed to have one soul? In stellar science, in the science of the star beings, the advanced races, some people can have multiple souls. That is, a person, a human being, can be a conduit, a vehicle for multiple souls to gain experience. Now, so the discussion we've had already is that Earth is a school, it's a place of learning, and the idea is you come, you incarnate, you learn, and then you go to the next level until you graduate. The goal is, as far as I understand it, the goal is to graduate. That's the goal. And anyone who has an advanced spiritual understanding, that should be the goal. Graduation. Graduation means you get to move to a different system, to a different school, to a different world, to a different reality, whatever you want to call it. But the goal is graduation. And that has karmic implications, right? You carry karma, you carry debt, you carry lessons, you carry obligations. You come here, you have to do certain things. You have to live a certain life. But all of that, it's all tied to what you're supposed to learn, what you need to understand, right? So that goes back into saying that if you incarnate into a traumatic life and you're a young girl and there's a lot of trauma, that's connected to your karmic level. That's connected to your spiritual understanding. That's connected to your level of growth. It's there for a reason. When it comes to multiple souls, so you could have one soul incarnate as a child, as a newborn, and at a certain age, once the lessons have been learned, that soul can leave and a new soul can enter. Sometimes the new soul will enter and they will inhabit the body at the same time, which may cause the person to go a little crazy. And then once that the first soul has learned to let go, has accepted the understanding, the learning, sometimes the new soul will even help the old soul to you've learned it. Now you need to understand it. Now you need to let go, right? Sometimes they don't want to let go. No, it's my body. I need to be abused more. So sometimes the soul doesn't want to let go, right? It believes the world and the body to be real, and it may have, misinterpreted things. It may have certain beliefs. So the first soul leaves. That process may take time. So the lesson may be complete, but it may take years before it leaves, before it's willing to let go. And during that time, they may cause more problems, more karmic debt, and they may have to stay longer. You want to get it, you want to come in, do your thing, and get out. You want to be clean. Think of it. You go to school. The curriculum, you need to take 30 credits for the semester. 30 credits. And you got to take 10 courses, 3 credits each. Okay? That's it. That's your 3-month program. 10 courses, 3 credits each, 30 credits, you get to move to the next level. That's what you want to do. Now, let's say a guy goes to school and says, no, I'm going to take 50 courses. I'm gonna do the first semester for as long as I can. Because I'm really stupid. That doesn't make sense. But when it comes to Earth, everyone's doing it. No, I gotta do this, and I gotta do that, and I gotta do this, Why are you doing that? You don't have to do everything. Oh, I gotta climb the mountain, and now I gotta find the love of my life, and then I gotta find my passion. I gotta start a company. I need to make $1 million. I wanna discover gold. I wanna become a woman. You don't have to do everything. So you got 10 courses, 3 credits each. Sun's coming out. Right? So understand my logic. I'm trying to be logical because it should be like this. The problem is that we have been miseducated. And that's why I try to make these videos. Because we have been miseducated. Religion has prevented our salvation. Religion has prevented our graduation. It has trapped us here. So you have a new soul can come in. That's bright. Okay. The new soul comes in, and they come in with their learning. This is what they want to learn. And this is their capabilities. But now the new soul inhabits an older body. They don't have to learn how to crawl and walk and wear diapers. Now there could be a teenager, there could be a young adult, there could be a mature adult, right? So now you don't have to do all that stuff. So sometimes you don't want to do that stuff. Sometimes the soul says, I don't want to be born and learn to walk. I want to get right into it. So they enter at an older period. It could be a middle age, it can be a young adult, it can be teenager. Like that's all specified in detail by whoever is organizing this stuff. Right? Get out of the sun a little bit. Okay. There you go. So you have a new soul come in. Now, when the new soul comes in, there's a revitalization. You're seeing the world different, right? Because you're like, wow, I haven't been in this body before. You just dialed in. And there could be a destabilization phase. There could be that transition phase is when in the person's life, there could be this lull, this low point where nothing's happening. You're going through a divorce, you're changing careers, right? And it's a couple of years, it's 2-3 years. And let's say the transition is two years. But if you get into drugs, and then if you start going off course, and you get into a bad relationship, and you try to force something that's not ready, it's not for you, you try to do something that you're not supposed to do, you try to go back, sometimes you go back to your old job, back to your old relationship. If you do all that, those 2 years can become 4, 5, 6 years. It could be and that could be very painful, right? Because that would delay the next incarnation. Now sometimes there's interference. There's interference to prevent the new soul from coming in, right? And during that transition phase, you're vulnerable, you're sensitive, you're vulnerable to attack, to manipulation, right? You could start to think, I should be this, and I should be that, and I should be this. You could go way off course. So sometimes you can get attacked during those transition phases. Just because you have a transition doesn't mean you're getting a new soul. You could just be upgrading. So there's a difference between being upgrading your DNA, upgrading your intelligence, getting more of yourself. You're downloading more of yourself because you're more stable, you're more mature, versus getting a new soul. A new soul is a new identity. So the new soul sees things differently. They see, wow, I got a body. So some of the issues you could have, you get this rebirth, reborn, you find a new religion, you change your friends, you change your job, you change your career, go back to school. Usually pretty dramatic. Sometimes you get out of drugs. Sometimes you get into, right? Oh. So sometimes you get into, if you're being influenced, you can get into it. If you're being responsible, there you go. If you're being irresponsible, you get out of a bad situation. This is not what I want. Get out of the situation. Or sometimes you change your situation. You improve your relationship. You fix your marriage. You build a new house. You rebrand your company. All this stuff. It depends on you. It depends on what you came here to do. The new soul. The new soul. Again, remember this. This new identity comes into this body, into this world. Now they didn't have to go through childhood. They don't have no connection to the childhood. They don't really have a sense of identity because they're new. It's like you go to a new company, you go to a new country. Nobody knows you. You have no reputation. You have no obligation. Right? If you do something stupid, nobody cares. So you get into this new body, you're like in a new country. You're like, I have no responsibility because you don't associate with the previous identity, the previous soul. So the risks are, you could get yourself into trouble. You could start doing criminal activity. Well, hey, if I can get away with it. You might you start experimenting with sex. You might get into deviant sexual behavior. Hey, this feels good because you're not grounded. You didn't earn this body. You didn't earn this life, right? You come in at age 30 and you didn't fight to get to age 30. You got the age 30 body and life. So you're not as dedicated to it, right? You're not as disciplined to it. You have no real care for it, right? So that's when you start to, you can abuse yourself. You start drinking. Maybe when you start trying drugs. Maybe that's when you start getting into sexual, wild sex. You start maybe taking risks and getting into mountain climbing. You might get into, now again, you didn't earn the body, right? You didn't raise it. You didn't protect it all these years. And it's just a body. And you might have been a female in a previous incarnation, and now you're a male, and you might say, I feel like a woman, but the body's a male. So you might change, right? That's when you might get the impetus for a gender change, or your sexual orientation, or your religious affiliation. To me, while culturally and socially they have a certain impact, at the level I'm talking about, which is at a spiritual or advanced scientific level, because we're talking about a new soul coming in. So I'm well outside of convention. Okay, I'm not talking about social class, gender identity, or cultural values and what's politically correct. I'm not talking about that. Because at this level, we don't. That stuff is just something we've added over the years. I'm talking at a higher level, spiritual, advanced scientific level, which gets into reality science. That's the basis. That's the foundation. That's where all my thinking comes from. I don't get my thinking from. I don't study others. My ideas come from my work, my research, my observation. So you get this new body, and then they came here to learn something. But there's that, there's an initial phase. You go to a new country, you got to get yourself, you have to get yourself, you have to get your foundation, you have to get the place, find friends, you have to get your identity, you have to get your settled, right? You have to get settled. So the original person, so let's go through it basically. The original person, they learn, and they're able to leave. Because sometimes you have a soul that they only need to learn a few things, and they don't want to live a full life. So you bring them in for a certain period, and then they can, once they learn, they can go out. So you have this situation, they go out, another one comes in, there's that transition, that's when things are destabilized. And then there's a settling period. Now all of this it's going to take a few years, but if you complicate it and you make some bad decisions, that could take a lot of years. Could take a lot. You could ruin that whole path. Now, once you're settled, then you start to do your thing, right? Then you start to, hopefully you haven't done anything too crazy. Then you start to do your lesson. And it may, if everyone does what they're supposed to do, that soul might be able to graduate, and a new soul can come in. That's a good thing. The good thing is, because you've learned, you're able to graduate, right? Because you can go to university, and you can there's a 6-month program, there's a 3-month intensive, there's a 1-year executive program, there's a standard 4-year program. These programs, these educational programs are designed for the modern lifestyle, right? So same thing with Earth. Some people, some bodies can inhabit multiple souls to provide an opportunity for multiple souls to come here and learn. And if they come here, they're also contributing. They contribute. They're not here to take. So they come in, they contribute, they learn, they go. Lesson done. That's good. Next soul comes in, they contribute, they build something, and then they go. And then another one comes in. You could even have multiple. You could have 2 souls inhabiting the same body at the same time. The problem isn't here. So the problem isn't two souls inhabiting the same body. That's not the problem. The problem is that this is not taught. This is not something that we readily understand. This is not something I studied from anybody. This is something from my understanding, right? So basically, I am creating this knowledge from my understanding, which means that it's not being taught. Why is that a problem? Because if you're in a transition and there's two souls in the body, and we can't scientifically prove it, and that person is going nuts. They don't understand what's going on. There's voices. There's multiple ideas. There's you're being pulled this way. You're being pulled that way, and then there could be interference. Like it could be a very traumatic situation. But not once will they think, is this a situation where there's a soul that's supposed to go and there's a soul coming in? Is this a situation where the soul doesn't want to go or doesn't understand because they never knew that they could go? And then you get a soul who says, I don't like it here, I want to go. No, you have to finish your education. You can't go. Even you commit suicide, you're going to come back in another body. You can't avoid it. You got to finish the school. You got to go to school. Sorry. Let's just take it. Take the pain now. Okay. Multiple souls. I think that's all I wanted to say. So we try to have these discussions because there's no other place to have this discussion unless sometimes a family will have this discussion, or between two people they might have this discussion, between a psychic intuitive and a person might have this discussion. But on a larger scale, we don't have this discussion. Now, okay, we're kind of out of time, but let me just say that if you remove a soul, the body is still alive. It still has an operational frequency. It still has an intelligence. It's just that when a soul comes in, it's kind of like a manual override. It's just like the vehicle is self-driving vehicle, so they don't need you. But when you enter the vehicle, you can flip the switch and you can go into manual override, right? I want to drive. So that's kind of the situation. The body is self-driving and is very intelligent. It has an identity. But when someone comes in, they share that basic identity, right? You can't change the basic identity. You can't change the Porsche and drive it like a Toyota, right? You can't change that. It's a Porsche, you gotta treat it like a Porsche. But you can put your own spin on it, right? So you do get a little bit of that influence. So you could have this one vehicle, multiple drivers, multiple souls. What is a soul? That's a whole different discussion.